What is up, YouTube? This is RoguePlayer here, and today is the first day of the first episode of Deck Creation Day. Now, Deck Creation Day is not where I make random decks, but it's actually where I literally make random decks. Like, for instance, Avengers deck. I'll be making those in the future. Let's say, Justice League deck. Might be making those. Just random decks. So let's get right into it. So today, this is my first ever deck I've legitimately created. It's my not just killer. It's my Creepypasta deck. So let's get right into it. So the deck is pretty OP. I can't lie. But since I'm gonna be making lots of different types of archetypes, they're not gonna be too OP for the other archetype I'll create. So I'm making so anyway, 3 Jeff the Killer. When you summon period, special one monster from your deck with the killer in its name. And when you send to the graveyard, you can special summon him back from the graveyard once per duel. Then 3 Jeff the Killer the Rising. He basically does the same thing when he basically does the entire thing except for when he's sent to the graveyard, you can add another killer spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. So basically a spell or trap that has killer in its name. And each one of his effects will only be used once per turn. Now the killer monsters like them, they're the only non-OOP-ish type cards in the deck. Everything else is pretty OP. They're the only fair cards in the deck, I should say. I'm running 3 Jane the Killer. She can be special summoned by returning, by sending one or more Jeff the Killer monsters I control to the graveyard, including the Rising. And she gets 1 additional attack for each one sent. And basically, when during the player's turn, if she's sent to the graveyard, add 1 killer monster from your deck to your add 1 killer monster from your graveyard to your hand, except herself. They're running 3 Slenderman. Slenderman is basically when he's normal summoned, add 1 killer type monster from your deck to your hand. And if you've seen, the only killer of the Jeff the Killer storyline is only Jane. I made the rest of them fiends because I didn't want to make the deck too overpowered. So anyway, Slenderman, when he's normal summoned, you can add 1 killer type monster from your deck to your hand. And while he's face up, killer type monsters cannot be destroyed by card effects. They're running 2 Tiki Toby. Tiki Toby is basically when he's summoned, I can return a face-up Slenderman. Oh, he must be summoned by returning Slenderman from your field to your hand. And if you've seen Slenderman, you obviously know why he would have to do that. Oh, if you've seen the story of Tiki Toby, I mean. So when you return him to your hand, and then you can equip the Slenderman from your hand to him. And then if that happens, if you equip your Slenderman from your hand to him, he gains 700 attack for each killer monster in your graveyard. And when you send to the graveyard, special summon 1 killer monster from your deck. And he's unaffected by spell cards. They're running 3 Eyeless Jack. Now, it's kind of hard to see from a distance because the picture's kind of dark. But Eyeless Jack, basically, you must banish 2 killers to summon him. And when he's summoned, you can add 1 dead spell card from your deck to your you can add 1 dead card from your deck to your hand. And if he attacks, your opponent can activate card effects until the end of the turn. So basically, if you attack with him first, your opponent can activate nothing for the whole turn. And when he leaves the field at all, you can add 1 dead card from your graveyard to your hand. So I didn't want to make him too OP anyway because he only adds dead cards, and dead cards are like the spells and traps of the deck. So then we're running 2 Bend Round. Bend Round, basically when he's summoned at all, add Majora's Mask from your deck to your hand, and that effect can only be used once. That effect can only be used once per turn. So even if you could summon 2 of him, you can't add multiple Majora's Masks. And and if he's sent to the graveyard, you could pay 800 life points to add 1 Jeff the Killer from your deck to your hand. They're running 2 Laughing Jack. I just recently made him before I made the video. When he's normal summoned, you can add 1 killer monster from your graveyard to your hand, and he cannot be destroyed by battle, and he can't be targeted by card effects. And if you control 2 or more killers, you can special summon him from your hand. So if you special summon him, you can't use normal summon effect, so he's not that bad. but you can only control one face of Laughing Jack. So he's also pretty non-OP-ish. They're running one Gorge. Then for the spells are really OP. Well, my spells, we're running two Dead Greed. Dead Greed basically draw one card for each killer monster in your graveyard, which is very OP. But the thing is, in this game, you don't really want lots of killer monsters in your hand because lots of them can only special summon from deck. So if you draw too many killers, Dead Greed is actually going to hurt you a lot. So during the second standby phase, while this card's in your graveyard, you can banish this, and all killer monsters are unaffected by card effects for the rest of that turn. They're running one Majora's Mask. Basically, when this card's activated, you can banish two cards from your opponent's graveyard. And all bend drown monsters you control gain 700 attack during the damage step only. And this card cannot be targeted by card effects, so it's pretty much no way you're going to get over this card. And when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add one killer monster from your deck to your hand, or graveyard to your hand. Then we're running a Killer Solution. Killer Solution, basically all killer dark monsters gain 300 attack for each dark monster on the field. Once per turn, if a killer or dark monster you control is destroyed, each player can add one killer monster from their deck to their hand. And this card's unaffected by monster effects. We're running two of that, sorry. So then we're running a Dark Hole. I also put normal cards in here also. Like, just because I didn't want to use up all my ink to create this deck. Then we're running, for traps, we're running two A Killer's Game. While this card, while you control one or more killer monsters, the turn, all killer monsters on the field are unaffected by card effects. And also, if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon one 15 attack or lower killer monster from your graveyard, or pay 1,500 life points to special summon one from deck. So they're running two Once Upon the Dead. Once Upon the Dead is basically one of my favorite. When this card is activated, target two killer monsters with different levels from your graveyard. So if you roll a even, you can special summon the monster with the lowest level. Roll an odd, you special summon the monster with the highest level. So that card's pretty good. They're running two Threatening Roars, two Wabokus, two Blazing Mirror Force, one Torrential, one Call of Hunted, one Solemn Warning. And I made a few extra deck cards for this deck to make it even more OP-ish. We're running two Grim, the Reaper of Death. When you Synchro Summon, you can add one killer monster from your graveyard to your hand. And then, this card cannot be destroyed by card effects while there's another killer on the field. And once per duel, you can special summon one killer monster from your extra deck or graveyard. So basically, you use the effect once because you think you're about to go for a game, and you special summon the killer to the field from your extra deck, like Ben's Holiday. Yeah, he can't be destroyed. I mean, if you mess up, it's pretty much game for you. So then you got two Ben's Holiday. This is a really OP card. So basically, what he does when he's Synchro Summoned, which it's not many ways to Synchro Summon him in this deck, there's very few ways, but when he's Synchro Summoned, you pay half your life points to special summon as many killer monsters from your deck as possible. And this card cannot be destroyed by monster effects. And when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add two killer monsters from your graveyard to your hand. So Ben's Holiday is pretty good. And we're running one Ben and Jeff. It's a fusion monster that you have to send the above materials to the graveyard to summon this, and you need obviously Ben Drowned and Jeff the Killer. And while this card basically this is a Genzo, so I didn't want to make it too OP. Oh, and then once per turn, you could target one. You can add one killer monster from your graveyard to your hand. So basically, I don't want to make this deck too OP, but you know that's my oh god, so many cards. It's not a lot of cards, they're just like they're big because I created them. But yeah, that's my killer deck. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked this episode of Deck Creation Day, please comment decks that you want me to make, and thanks for watching.